within the island had grown to so great a multitude that they could not all dwell together. They divided their whole troop into 3 parts, and it's said and determined by lot which part of them had to forsake their country and seek new abodes. And there's a plethora of notes. People who've done work in reference. I just read there are already 3 references. Schmidt. That reviews the classical authorities, Ptolemy, as well as Jordan's geographer. Song of Beowulf includes that word. Refers to Scandinavian people, but they disagree about what time people arrived and who were who and who was this, and therefore that section which fate has assigned the abandonment of their native soil and the search for foreign fields. After 2 leaders had been appointed over them to wield, Iber and Ilo and the brothers, some founding people, they traveled. I do not think it was an advantage to put out a little while the order of my narrative, and because my pen up to this time deals with Germany, to relate briefly a miracle which is there considerable notable among all, as well as certain other matters. In the farthest boundaries of Germany, toward the west-northwest, on a shore of the ocean itself, a cave is seen under a projecting rock, where for an unknown time 7 men repose. And there's notes down here. It's taken from reviewed of other Saxo Grammaticus. Wrapped in a long sleep. Not only their bodies, but also their clothes being so uninjured that from this fact alone, that they last without decay through the course of so many years, they are held in veneration among these ignorant and barbarous people. These then, and so far as regards their dress, are perceived to be Romans, when a certain man, stirred by cupidity, wanted to strip one of them. Straightway his arms withered, and is said at his punishment so frightened the others that no one dared touch them further. The future will show for what useful purpose divine providence keeps them through long so a period. Perhaps those nations are to be saved sometime by the preaching of these men, since these cannot be deemed to be other than Christians. More notes. For Scribabini, for thus that nation is called our neighbors to this place. They are not without snow, even in the summertime. They are not without snow even in the summertime, and since they do not differ in nature from wild beasts themselves, they feed only upon the raw flesh of wild animals, from whose shaggy skins also they fit garments for themselves. They deduce their etymology of their name according to their barbarous language from jumping. For the making use of leaps and bounds, they pursue wild beasts very skillfully, with a piece of wood bent in likeness of a bow. Among them there is an animal not very unlike a stag, from whose hide while it is rough with hairs, I saw a coat fitted in this manner, of a tunic down to the knees, such as the aforesaid scribnity use, as has been related. In these places about the summer solstice, a very bright light is seen in some days, even in the night time, and the days are much longer than there elsewhere, just as, on the other hand, about the winter solstice, although the light of day is present, yet the sun is not seen there, and the days are shorter than anywhere else, and the nights too are longer. And this is because the further we turn from the sun, the nearer the sun itself appears to the earth, and the longer the shadows grow. In short, in Italy, as the ancients have also written, about the day of the birth of our Lord, human statures at 12 o'clock measure in shadow 9 feet. Then I was stationed in Beige Gaul, in a place is called Villa Tinville, and measured the shadow of my stature. I found it 19.5 feet. Thus also, on the contrary, the nearer we come to the sun toward midday, the shorter appears the shadow, so that the summer solstice, when the sun looks down from the midst of the heaven in Egypt and Jerusalem, and the places situated in their neighborhood, no shadows may be seen. But in Arabia at this time, the sun at its highest point is seen on the northern side, and the shadows, on the other hand, appear towards the south. Not very far from the shore of which we have spoken, toward the western side, on which the ocean main lies open without end, is that very deep whirlpool of waters, which we call by its familiar name, the navel of the sea. This is said to suck in the waves and spew them forth again twice every day, as is proved to be done by the excessive swiftness with which the waves advance and recede along those shores. A whirlpool or maelstrom of this kind is called by the poet Virgil Charybdis, which he says in his poem, in the Sicilian Strait, speaking of it in this way: Silius on the hand besets, and the left of relentless Charbos thrasts the world's deepest abyss, and swallows the vast waves. Headlong it lifts among, again in turn one another, forth to upper air, and lashes the stars of the billows. Ships are allegedly to be often violently and swiftly dragged in by this whirlpool, of which indeed we have spoken, with such speed that they seem to imitate the fall of arrows through the air. And sometimes they perish by a very dreadful end in that abyss. But often when they are upon the very point of being overwhelmed, they are hurled back sudden masses of waves and driven away again at great speed as they were first drawn in. They say is another whirlpool of this kind between the island of Britain, the province of Galicia. And with this fact, the coast of kind region and the equator are filled twice a day in sudden inundations, that anyone who may be chance found a little inward from the shore can hardly get away. You may see the rivers of these regions falling back the very swift current towards their source, and the fresh waters of the streams turning salt through the spaces of many miles. As they sweep into the Charybdis of Virgil.